And welcome to this executive member meeting of the executive member for highways and transport. Let's start with the agenda of item 1, which is monitoring of executive cabinet member decision. Susan.
Yeah, I think we've worked hard. Officers have worked hard to get this up to date, and we're keeping on track. So hopefully, I think everything's up to date on there. I don't know if anyone's got any questions on it, but officers are around to help if there are.
Yeah, Councillor Wilkinson.
Councillor Wilkinson, yeah.
Yeah, just two things, if I may, exec member. The issue regarding the culverted watercourse at the fairways. I'm hoping this will be dealt with a little bit sooner than June 25, because it's there. And my concern is if anything ever happens to this culvert, either it becomes blocked or, because of debris coming further downstream or anything like that, I've now suddenly got a couple hundred residents on the other side of a stream and they have no other way of getting across. So I'd like to, me and my ward colleagues, all three of us, would like to be certain about what the position is regarding that culvert, because things break, things get blocked, etc. Excuse me. So I'd like to be a little bit clear about that. So if all three of us could be updated where that particular issue is and what is the solution if any of them dire situations did take place. The other one is in relation to my colleagues from Smithles, who tell me they've been asking for some time now about this related matter on Smithles Dean Road. Sorry about the cough. And they're still waiting. So whether that could be speeded up and lines of communications improved between officers and the relevant ward members to resolve this outstanding issue, which they're getting a little bit fed up of the length of time it's taken. So if those could be looked into, I'd be grateful.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Dwayne, you want to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I can. Thanks for your questions as well, Councillor. I can update on both those issues, but we will follow it up with written confirmation as you've requested. Just on the adoption of the culvert and the watercourse, so it remains in the landowner's responsibility. The date of June 2025 is when the development is anticipated to be completed, and that's the date that the council will adopt that culvert and it will become a council asset. Until that time, it remains in responsibility of the developer. So that any repairs or any implications from that existing culvert at the moment remain in their responsibility, and we can enforce upon them to make sure that it isn't contributing to any flood risk for any nearby authorities, any nearby residents. Sorry. And just on the speed enforcement, there was a commitment that we would update, particularly Councillor Hayes, within January. We've missed that deadline, unfortunately, due to colleagues being off sick, but I'm chasing up the designs, and the designs will be shared with Councillor Hayes as soon as possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? No. So the second item is Department of Housing Financial Monitoring Q3 enclosed. Report is enclosed. Is it? Who's taking it on?
I think it's Catherine Roscoe, I think, or Lynn. Is it Lynn?
The housing one is me. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Lynn.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Right, okay. So table 2.1 is given the changes in the budget in year from the start of the financial year to now. Then there was no strategic redirections for savings for housing. 2.3 is showing the financial position, which is a balanced budget after we transferred 192 from reserves. Then there's a breakdown of why we've got overspends and underspends in the variation analysis. The details, 141 is available for a capital programme. Table 4 just gives a breakdown of the reserves, and the recommendations in this report are that you note the financial position as at 31st of March and note the changes to the budget in year. And then that's it, unless anybody's got any questions.
Any question?
Yes. Probably not a pure financial one, but my real concern is, in fact, in housing, full stop. I think those of us who attended the Bolton Home housing briefing, and some of us will remember when Bolton Home was transferred from being an arm's length organisation to an housing, basically an housing association. And the real concern is the fact that there are literally thousands of people who cannot obtain some form of social housing. And I know Bolton Home and the other providers are trying to do their best, although I have some grave concerns about some of our partners in at Bolton, to say the least. Some housing associations, quite frankly, I wouldn't pay in peanuts because they're rubbish. That's my personal opinion, by the way, because of the delays in dealing with tenants related issues. What concerns me is we seem to have allowed all these type of issues to go out of the council's remit, and we don't seem to have any real in-depth understanding or discussion amongst members. This may be a scrutiny related issue or even a PDG, where we are in terms of housing need, provision for disabled people, for elderly people, for young people, young schemes, etc. So maybe the exec member, officers could look at where we go with actually discussing some of these issues, because we have an exec member report which is about X, but all these bigger issues which are affecting thousands of people in Bolton, I'm not quite sure where it's going. So whether anybody could take that away and have a think about it.
Thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Rachel, you want to come?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Councillor Wilkinson. Two things, just to give you some reassurance, really. We will be bringing through quite a detailed update on the housing situation in Bolton, actions we're taking and kind of the national picture. And I've been liaising with the Chair of Scrutiny to add this to the last meeting of this municipal year. And secondly, as we move forward past April, you will be seeing some more in-depth performance information coming through in a separate report.
Could I just ask a follow-up question? I'm glad to hear that. That is good, because I've lingered a long while on the council, and housing has been something I've been fairly keen on over the years. I've been really more than concerned, extremely disappointed where we've gone as a society for people in need. We seem to have certain things and we don't make any progress. In fact, we're going backwards, in my opinion. Could I just ask, is there anything in that report which will look at the council returning to being a provider? Because some local authorities up and down the country have gone away from outsourcing a whole variety of services and bringing them in, including Bolton on one or two things. Whether there is any scope for us as a authority to bring back in-house related housing matters, including the construction of properties, because we are disposing of land through the SAMP process.
Okay, thank you. So the report won't specifically bring forward a proposal to do what you're saying, but what it will look at is these are the options we are continuing to explore in depth as to how we can try and tackle some of the housing crisis that we're experiencing here in Bolton, which is being seen elsewhere nationally too. So it will look at all options, and they will be brought forward probably later in this year for the exec cabinet members' consideration.
Thank you, Rachel. I understand, Councillor Wilkinson, you are very passionate about it, and it's a wider issue. Housing is a wider issue in the whole of the country, and to be honest, we are in a crisis, housing crisis, not only social housing but private properties as well. Within Bolton, as an housing exec member, I know that even private housing is very difficult to obtain. So it is a wider issue, and hopefully we have more discussions on this on different forums as well. If there is no more question on this, our report is noted and approved. Item 3 is Department of Place Financial Monitoring 2023-24 Q3 report. Is Catherine?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you.
This report contains the Q3 update for the Directorate of Place. The Directorate is currently projected a year-end overspend of 685,900. For this portfolio, Transport, Highways and Housing, the projection is 75,400 overspend. and that is detailed in Appendix 2. It is noted the significant variance relating to planning is now contained within the regeneration portfolio. Key findings can be found on page 3 and service-specific findings on page 17, which is Appendix 2. The Executive Cabinet member is asked to note the contents of this report and to approve the recommendations in section 11 of this report. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Any questions on this? No, if there's no question, so report is noted and approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 4 is petition on A6 Blackrod. Is it John? Are you taking this on? Councillor,
it's actually
sorry.
Dwayne who's taking the report, Councillor Curran.
Okay, Councillor Grant, do you want to come first?
No, I'll let Dwayne go.
Okay, thank you, Dwayne.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So the council received a petition which contained 46 signatures, as is detailed in the report, and there was 3 asks within the petition. There's concerns from residents over road safety and speeding. So the petition stated that where the bridge narrows, it's very dangerous for pedestrians, and they discussed the narrowness of the footway in that location, and there was a request for traffic calming. There was a request that the signs aren't very visible, aren't clear. Can they be made larger? And can we consider an electric sign or something just to highlight the change in speed limit at this location? So we've looked into all of the of those requests. Unfortunately, there's not an opportunity to introduce any traffic calming at that location. I know certainly the data and the statistics does not support doing any intervention. It is an area where the road kind of narrows, naturally throttles anyway, going into the village of Adlington as it just as we leave the borough of Bolton. So there's automatically some natural traffic calming in place there, and it is a 30 limit, as the petition states. In relation to the request for larger signs, now we can't do anything around making the signs physically larger because we're constrained to DFT guidance. But what we can do is we can put them on a backing board. So that is contained within the report and the associated costs of doing that. And unfortunately, the request for an electronic sign isn't supported within the report. So that is the report, really. So what we're asking for within the recommendations is that the speeding concerns are noted. However, the collision data does not meet the threshold to implement a change in a speed limit, and it's a 30 mile an hour anyway. The council, with the support of the ward area forum, or the ward councillors, will consider the implementation of yellow backing boards and the reallocation of a speed display unit to this location. So what we can do, we have speed indication monitors which highlight the speed of vehicles because it's going into a change of speed limit at this location. So we can reallocate one of those to that location, which certainly will help motorists be very aware of the speed that they are travelling at. And in relation to the footway and the request for that it was very narrow, that the council will maintain the footway in line with highways legislation and the present management strategy, and there's no opportunity to do anything significant or widen that footway at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ruben. Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Chair. Just as we're on live stream, I think it's important that we mentioned that last year we did actually do, ward members paid for a traffic survey, which produced the result that actually, whilst there are 1 or 2 idiots, the average speed was within a few miles per hour of the actual allocated speed. And as such, the police came back and said they wouldn't enforce any speed enforcement. That's correct, isn't it, Dwayne?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then anything such as zigzags, rumble strips, anything that we put on would be a one-off payment. And after that, other funding to maintain them and look after them would have to be found either from the town council or from an ongoing payment from the area forums. So
yep.
That's where we're at. I appreciate this is really upsetting for the residents who live out on Waterhouse Nook. But we have looked into it, and without police actually willing to enforce anything we do, it would be a loss of money to this council and an ongoing requirement. The backing boards are an interesting one. I've not come across that, and I'm happy to speak to you about that. But again, you know, I can't support anything from a ward perspective where the police aren't going to enforce it, because it just seems pointless. Public safety is, of course, a concern, and it does, you know, narrow naturally there, as you say. But there haven't been any actual accidents in that area. There have been a bit further up, where there's a junction, but there haven't actually been any accidents. And speeding, again, like I say, we always get the odd idiot with the heavy foot, is in line with what we would expect on that 30-mile-an-hour stretch. So I just wanted to make that clear, that we have looked into it. For anybody who's watching the live stream, we have looked into it, and we went, I think it was nearly £1,000 we paid for that traffic survey, or that speed survey, I think, if I recall, just to come with a result with the police saying, I'm sorry, we're not interested. So that's all I wanted to say, really. But I'm quite happy to speak to you about the backing boards. That seems a relatively easy solution and reasonably cost effective. So I'm happy to speak to you about that. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Wilkinson.
Just in relation to the backing board, I must admit, when my son lived in London, used to go down and see him, and I used to travel quite a lot around London. You know, quite an interesting place. And one of the things that appeared to me, and I did raise this at the time with Dwayne's predecessor, was the issue of signage, particularly larger signage than what we put up in Bolton as a council, and the issue of backing boards. So I'm glad to see that the possibility of backing boards is seriously being looked at on one location, and hopefully in other locations, because sadly, as Councillor Grant's mentioned, we deal not with the common sense people, we deal with morons who have no consideration of road safety, other road users, vehicles, cyclists, motorbikes. They have no consideration of pedestrians. It doesn't matter if it's a person in a wheelchair or a parent pushing a pram. So we have to try and put it in great, big, bright letters for these idiots to understand that they're in a zone what needs particular attention paying to. So I'm glad that we're looking at it, because if it is a case, I think other ward forums would be interested in seeing that in locations where we've got issue around speeding. The sad thing about this is it's always no. And I know Councillor Grant's mentioned the police have said no. Well, yeah, police maybe it would be a bit better if they said yes occasionally. What worries me about the request of moving a driver feedback sign is where we are with driver feedback signs, because we had a spate, and I've asked a question a couple of times in council. What about the reliability and the quality of these signs? Because we spent, across the entire council, a small fortune, I think going on for nearly £1 million, but 900 grand, I think I remember rightly, on DFS signs, and the quality, the maintenance and reliability of them was, shall I say, left a lot to be desired. So I'd be a bit concerned about that. Are we installing more DFS on requests, either from ward forums or town councils? Are they reliable enough? Is the background contract with this supplier good enough? Because we've got one in West Orton, which is on the blink again, second time. So I'd be interested to know, are we going for these IVIS signs, backing boards, to emphasise to the idiots out there there's a danger location? And where are we with DFS? Or have we wasted 900 grand? If anybody could answer that, or give me a reply.
Dwayne?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I'm not aware how much the council has invested in the DFS signs, councillor, but I very much doubt it was in that order, because they're only a few £1,000s each, and we don't have that. I think we've got less than 20 across the whole of the borough, I think, But you're probably right that the council has invested probably close to £1 million around road safety cameras, and there has been a lot of road safety cameras installed, and particularly some very, very new road safety cameras installed across the borough. Going back to the driver displays, the speed limit displays, you're right, we have struggled with our present provider, and we're not alone. Unfortunately, I've been talking to some of our neighbouring authorities, and they're also struggling with these signs. So it is something that we're looking at the moment. We have got a commitment from the present supplier to make sure that all of these are working. And I also know I've got an inquiry from you that I need to respond to as well about another location in relation to one of these signs that I will do later today. So it is an important. I would like to see more investment in these signs. Honestly, it's something that so I would be promoting, certainly as we're going towards a Vision Zero strategy across Greater Manchester. You may have seen we've got some VMS signs around the borough, which we've supported with the police, giving safety awareness and raising awareness of road safety messages. And we've got several of those across some very key strategic locations at the moment, giving some of those safety messages. And that's been done in collaboration with the police. I would like to see more investment in the driver speed signs, and it's something that I will definitely keep you updated on. And we have struggled with our present supplier, as you've stated. Thank you.
Yeah. If no more questions, then the report is noted and approved. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and that concludes our meeting. Thank you everyone for attending.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. See you later.
Thank you, Chair.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, councillors.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members.